Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today's video is called, Have You Ever Had a Relationship with a Black Woman? In live TV interview, actor Seu Jorge put on the hot seat about his relationships with white women. So, don't know how many of my subscribers know who Seu Jorge is. If you're somebody who's into Brazil or you're from Brazil, you will know who Seu Jorge is. I became first aware of him as an actor, and then I discovered later that he was a musician. But I want to talk about this today because um, somebody told me about this interview when it happened back in November of 2022. And it says, well, did you hear this segment of the interview? Because did you hear what Seu Jorge talked about? And I had not. It's a 2 hour interview. It's a few minutes short of 2 hours. And I hadn't had a chance to check it out until somebody sent me the clip. So before I get into the video, please do consider liking this video, sharing this video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking on that notification bell. So you'll be advised when I put up a new video. So with that said, let me get directly into this today. So any of you who have followed this channel or blog knows that successful Black Brazilians married to white or near white Brazilians is a hot topic that is becoming more and more controversial in Brazil. There seem to be 5 schools of thought on the topic regarding interracial relationships in Brazil. These are opinions that you mostly find among Black Brazilians, although there have been a number of white Brazilians who have also pointed this issue out as well. I won't claim that the 5 points presented below represent all opinions because there are still more views on this topic, but I think they cover many reasons as to why this remains a hot topic. Number 1, those people, Black, brown, white, or other, who see no issue with the subject. For these people, anyone who makes an issue of the subject are simply creating problems and placing politics in the subject that should remain just personal. For many people who see it this way, people who bring up supposed problems with interracial relationships are extremists and creating problems where there should be none. 2, Black Brazilians who understand the existing racial issues in Brazil don't think affairs of the heart they don't think that should be an issue. 3, people who deep down have a real preference for whiteness, they won't admit this, and they deflect accusations of being sellouts with the automatic response that amor no tem cor, meaning love has no color. 4, Black Brazilians who prefer to date and marry other Black Brazilians, but simply could not find partners that match them well in terms of life perspective, or those who, due to their success in life, find themselves in environments in which there are very few other Black people, and they feel the need to open their options in terms of race if they want to have long-term relationships. 5, Black Brazilians who take issue with widespread interracial relations for a myriad of reasons. First, a lack of Black unity. 2, the slow disappearance of dark-skinned Black Brazilians. 3, regarding successful millionaire Black people, a continuous transfer of Black wealth back to Brazil's white community. And these are all topics that I've talked about before. For those of you who are not familiar with Seu Jorge, who was born Jorge Mario da Silva, he was born in the Belfort Roxo, Roxo area city located in Rio de Janeiro state. For Rio de Janeiro is the capital city, the most famous city, and then there's Rio de Janeiro state. He was born in 1970. In his teens, he participated in various samba circles and funk dances. In the mid 1990s, he joined the TUERJ theater company, where he got involved in both acting and music. In 1997, he joined the band Farofa Carioca. A multi-instrumentalist, Seu Jorge became famous for a mix of samba, samba soul, funk, samba rock, or what they call samba hockey, and MPB, which means Brazilian popular music. This was Seu Jorge when he was rocking the dreads. Jorge cites Rio's samba schools as well as Stevie Wonder as musical influences, but anyone who has heard the musician sing will instantly recognize the similarity in the way he sings with sambistas, such as, say, Martinho da Vila, this man here. He's going to be 86 years old this year, longtime representative of the Brazilian samba, as well as João Nogueira, another very popular sambista. He died a long time ago. I became aware of Seu Jorge as an actor first with his memorable performance as Mané Galinha, or Knockout Ned, in the 2000 blockbuster film Cidade de Deus. How many times have I talked about that film, on this channel? In the English language version, as I just said, the film was known as City of God, and George's character was known as Knockout Ned. This is, I think this is the bus scene in the film. I'm sure most of you will remember the Cidade de Deus film. It was a blockbuster film. As I said, it's known in the English-speaking world as City of God. All right. A lot of images you get out of that. A lot can be said about City of God. You know, they did a 10-year anniversary of the film, just exploring what happened to the actors who participated in the movie. Of all of the Black actors in the film, I think Seu Jorge is the one who really went somewhere. The other person who developed a career, even in the United States, was Alice Braga, the white girl in the film. Okay. So that's Cidade de Deus. Can't stop talking about that movie because so many people came out of it. It was a landmark in Brazilian cinema. So the interview below is a short excerpt taken from an interview with popular actor musician Seu Jorge. As I said, I knew him as an actor from City of God first. Then I says, oh, this guy's a musician. He makes some really good music. I'm not going to say I like all of his sounds, but his sound comes out of the type of samba hockey or samba funky that came out of the 70s in Brazil, where Brazilian musicians started mixing, you know, aspects of R&B, soul, and funk into samba, and they come up with a whole different rhythm that they call samba hockey or samba rock or samba funk. All right. Let me see. So this interview is taken from a nearly 2-hour video on the Roda Viva program on the TV Cultura television channel. And it was conducted on November 21st of 2022, one day after Brazil's Black Consciousness Day, which is celebrated every year on November 20th across the country. The interview was conducted by filmmaker Sabrina Fidalgo, this woman right here. At the beginning of the interview, Fidalgo mentions the name of Alberto Pereira Jr., who is a journalist and head of production and content on the Trace Brazil television network. Now, how can I describe? Okay, first of all, this is just some stills from the Roda Viva channel. You'll see people sitting in a round like right here, like on the hot seat, and they'll just have an interview with the person who's the subject, you know, the person who's being interviewed for the day. A lot of interesting guests they've had on this show over the years. Trace Brazil is a television, you know, network, and you find Trace all over the world. There's different, you know, whatever country that is in. Trace Brazil is how it might be known, but it's also known as Trace Brazuca inside of the country. You know, I did a story about Trace Brazil probably a couple of years ago, and it just represents, let me see, a TV channel or dedicated to Afro-urban culture, and this premiered, I think I said it was 2021, 2020, somewhere in that time. It kind of gives Black Brazilians some representation, Black culture on television that Black Brazilians have complained about their absence for years. So this kind of filled the void for a while. Nowadays, with so much content online, Black Brazilians are really moving. They're seeing a lot more representation, even in Brazil's mainstream media, which I've talked about previously. So with that said, I want to go and I'm going to overdub the interview. First, I'm going to overdub what Sabrina Fidalgo said to Seu Jorge and then how he responded. So first, Sabrina Fidalgo. Alberto's question, which I think is a bit controversial, but I think you're used to this from what I see on social media and so on.
Pelo que eu vejo nas redes sociais e tal, as suas últimas companheiras foram todas brancas, né? E existe uma grande crítica por parte da comunidade preta em relação a
Your
isso,
last
né?
partners
Homens negros
were
que só
white,
se
all
relacionam
white,
com
right?
mulheres brancas.
And there's a lot of
E eu queria
criticism from the
saber
Black community about this,
como
right?
você
Black
enxerga
men
essa
who only have
questão.
relationships with white women. And
Você
I'd like to
como
know
homem
how you see
preto,
this issue. You as a Black man and
isso
short
do
in the
mundo,
world. And I'd
e
like to know
queria
if you've
saber
ever
se você já
had
se relacionou
relationships
com
with
mulheres
Black women.
pretas.
Já me relacionei com mulheres pretas, não ao ponto de assumir um relacionamento mais profundo.
I have. I've had relationships with Black women, not to the point of getting into a deeper relationship. Yes, I have. But the question of the interracial is a problem in Brazil. It's a problem that we're yet to discover how to solve. This thing, the question of interraciality. I had these encounters with these women and had children with them, great companions that I haven't found in my life.
E é lógico que para muita gente, principalmente
And of
preta,
course, for many people, especially Black
claro,
people, it's
ela tá
suspicious.
casada com você porque
Of
vocês
course,
são
they're married
ricos,
to you because
fedidos,
you're a
ricos
Black
e
man,
tudo.
successful, rich, and
Esquece da
everything.
minha conversa também,
You're
né?
forgetting about my conversation too, right? You're forgetting that suddenly.
Acho que a pessoa
It's a
pode ter, de
conversation
repente,
before
um
that has
papo
a
antes,
wisdom
tem
too, right?
uma
To get along with
sabedoria
people,
também,
and
né?
that can't be ruled out. So it
Conviver com
happened
as
to me. It
pessoas.
happened to a lot of other people.
E isso não pode ser descartado. Então, aconteceu comigo.
I don't see it as a problem,
Aconteceu
but
com muitas
I
outras
understand the issue
pessoas.
of Black women's
E vejo isso
loneliness
como
and above all
problema.
the issue of this
Mas
place of
entendo
being
a
a
questão da
recognized
cidadania
man, right?
negra. E, sobretudo, nessa questão desse lugar de ser um homem,
Recognized by many
reconhecido,
as a successful man,
reconhecido
moving
por
through
muitos
spaces
como
that
homem
most Black men like
bem-sucedido,
me don't move through, and neither do women.
transitando em espaços que a maioria de homens negros como eu não transitam, e as mulheres também não. E nesses espaços,
And in these
muitas
spaces, I
vezes,
often have encounters with people,
eu tenho
men,
encontro
women,
com
different
pessoas
identifications, right?
homens, mulheres,
And they're passionate people.
diferentes identificações, né? E são pessoas apaixonantes. E não vejo
I don't see
isso
this as an
como
issue,
uma
particularly
questão
in my life, but I
particularmente na
do
minha
see
vida, mas
that this
vejo
is
que
a
isso é
big
grande
dilemma
dilema
in Brazil.
no Brasil, é uma pauta aí de discutir, que é a
It's
questão
still an
da
agenda to discuss,
interracialidade.
which
O
is
Brasil
the
é
issue
uma
of
coisa
interraciality in Brazil.
ainda
It's still not a
natural,
natural thing. It's
não muito
not
superado
overcome.
isso.
So that's what Seu Jorge had to say. I almost felt, because I listened to this interview like 2 or 3 times, and I just got a feeling like he answered the question without really answering the question. I mean, he got to the point where he acknowledged that there's a long debate about the difficulty that Black Brazilian women have in securing long-term relationships, what they call the solidão da mulher negra. They've been talking about this at least 10, 11, 12 years now. Why is it that Black women are always chosen last if they ever manage to get married? Then they see successful Black men, they always seem to marry white women. So he sees that. He says there's a question of interraciality. What he mentioned, he says, yeah, this is a problem in Brazil. And Brazil has for long years denied that this is an issue. In Brazil, we freely mix. We don't have this racial issue. But the idea of the mixed in Brazil, again, was to mix the Black population out through mixing. Okay. So Seu Jorge is admitting that this is a problem. Now, mind you, how do we look at it when we say that it's a problem? Because for Black people, they were always educated to marry white. You should want your children and grandchildren to come out whiter looking. Okay. On the other hand, for years, white people generally avoided marrying Black people because they looked at it as a step down. But then another thing that I'll notice is that a lot of, and people have pointed this out, you'll see rich Black Brazilian soccer players or musicians, rappers, actors, singers, lawyers, judges, whatever you might see. And the question is always, would that white woman have married him if he didn't have money and success, prestige, influence, and these type of things? I've seen it over and over in Brazil. You always hear whispers in the community like, she never had an interest in Black guys, but this rich Black guy comes along and she changes her tune. So this is not something that can be ignored. And I talk about this now because people say leave the personal out of political, but you really can't. How can you say you want Black equality? You want to build something for Black people. You want to have Black representation in every realm of Brazilian society. But how do you do that when so many people do this, and then after 2 to 3 generations, every success that you gain, the money that you earned, it all goes back to the community that you said you want equality with? It makes no sense. So this is a conversation that's been going on for a while. And Seu Jorge is good to acknowledge that it is a dilemma. But honestly, if you looked at the look on his face when the question was first posed to him, I don't think he wanted to deal with it. And most people who are married interracially, particularly prominent Black people, they really don't want to deal with the question. I feel like people don't really want to be honest about the issue. And that's what I got out of Seu Jorge. He says this is not a problem for me, but everybody takes that same opinion. And so what I'm saying is it is something on the personal level. And that's how you have to deal with it. You can't just throw everybody in the same box because people, get with who they get with for their own reasons. Right. So I don't really, he said right here in the interview, I don't know how we're going to resolve this issue. I don't know if he sees it as an issue as so much as people make an issue out of it, but it is a question that needs to be answered. Whether you talk about it, the slow disappearance of darker skinned Black Brazilians, or you talk about the transfer of any type of wealth that Black Brazilians have managed to attain, being the first person in their family to go to college, first person to have a middle-class lifestyle or whatever. You can't really uplift the community if you're continuously transferring everything that you have back over to the community that has excluded you for so long. That's what my point is. So, like many people, I just don't think Seu Jorge really wanted to deal with this issue. And that's perfectly fine. But as long as Black Brazilians continue to just kick the rock down the street, kick the can down the street, there's not going to be an answer for the question. And quite frankly, it's going to give more steam to the side that says, why are we bringing this up? Because it's going to make like the Black people who bring this issue up, it's going to make the Black people look like they're the ones making an issue out of it and being racist, racist extremists. Where's Dr. Umar Johnson when you need him? Actually, Umar Johnson was supposed to come to Brazil last year. And I remember that he did a video on Instagram where he says that, all of my Brazilian Africans, I want to hear from you because I'm trying to organize a trip to Brazil. From what I understand, it didn't happen. It got canceled. One of my sources says I don't know if because they didn't want to pay him what he was requesting, but I'm curious to know how Umar Johnson would react to this. I'm like, when my contact told me this, shout out to Marcus, I asked him, I'm like, well, does Umar Johnson know how Black Brazilian men get down and Black Brazilian women? If Umar Johnson was to go to Brazil and see all the mixed race couples that he would see there, he would probably lose his mind. But anyway, curious to know what you think about what Seu Jorge said. I thought it was kind of an non-answer, but let's get the conversation started. I love this topic. What did you think? Drop a comment in the comment section. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell so you'll be aware when I put a new video up. And with that said, going to end this video here and request that you all come back and check out the next video that I post.